I wonder. Monitor those as they move through the Atlantic, and again, keeping an eye on the Caribbean too. Into the Pacific we go. We have a tropical storm here to tell you about. Tropical storm Isis, which is centered at 22.4 north, 109.5 west. The center about 35 miles southeast of Cabo San Lucas. The wind 70 miles per hour. Moving north, the pressure 990 millibars. And tropical storm warnings are in effect for parts of the Baja California and parts of the Mexican coast here. So the Gulf of California will be impacted by this, and we'll have to watch this too. Again, maybe eventually some of the moisture will be making its way into the southwestern U.S. We'll have to keep a close eye on that, but certainly these areas here will be impacted. And again, tropical storm Isis in this area. So the big picture as we head a little closer to home, that's it for the tropics. Let's see what's going on out there. And as I mentioned, we do have some rain and some storms. Of course, we saw the rain associated with Earl, but we also have some scattered activity in the southwestern U.S. And with our front moving through the Great Lakes region, rain and storms here. Some of these have been a bit rough as they've moved through Wisconsin, now into Michigan. And unfortunately, we could see strong Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Christina Abernathy. We've still got a bit of wet weather and some storms to tell you about in the Great Lakes region. We'll have more on that coming up in just a moment. But first, it's time for our tropical update. And we want to take a look at the latest on Tropical Storm Earl. And the latest coordinates have Earl centered at 27.8 north, 90.5 west. That puts the center about 160 miles south of New Orleans. The winds 60 miles per hour, movement to the northeast at 10, and the pressure 996 millibars. Now we do have hurricane watches and warnings in effect. Those warnings from Cameron, Louisiana to Pascagoula, Mississippi, and then east of there, hurricane watches in effect to Destin, and then westward to High Island, Texas. So again, certainly want to be watching very closely the goings on with Earl. Here's what it looks like on the satellite view. The center of circulation somewhere in this general area here. So much of the convection is to the north and to the east here. So it's not terribly well organized. But we're going to continue to watch it, and what we're already beginning to see is some wet weather here, and it's just going to get worse. You can see the darker greens and the yellows. That's where the more intense activity is occurring, and it's just a matter of time before we begin to feel that in some of the areas inland. And we can also, of course, anticipate the windy conditions too. And keep in mind that there is more wet weather here to the south that is out of radar range, but it is there nevertheless, and we'll continue to see some pretty heavy amounts of rain falling. Again, we're anticipating the potential for torrential amounts of rain, so look out throughout this area. Already getting it around Panama City, just a matter of time before Mobile, and eventually perhaps into New Orleans as well. So we'll have more on Earl coming up at the top of the hour. You'll want to stay tuned for that in Weather Center. Now we're going to take a look at the latest on Hurricane Danielle, centered at 34.6 north, 67.2 west. That puts the center about 210 miles northwest of Bermuda, winds 100 miles per hour. Moving off to the east-northeast, the pressure 965 millibars. We do have tropical storm warnings in effect for Bermuda. And you can see that Danielle is, again, here not as impressive looking as it was earlier. Nevertheless, some windy conditions no doubt being felt in Bermuda, and it looks like that may continue and increase perhaps. So we'll continue to watch Danielle, but again, it is moving away from the U.S., so there's some good news. Also watching the goings-on in the Caribbean, watching this area right here. Looks like there is the potential for development with this area, so we'll have to keep a real close eye on this as it is in the Eastern Caribbean, and if it does get better organized, we will certainly let you know here. And again, just another perspective, no doubt bringing plenty of wet weather and storms here, and again, there is the potential for further development. Continuing to watch our waves move off the west coast of Africa, none particularly catching our eye right now, but nevertheless, we'll continue to watch them. We also, in the Pacific, have a tropical storm Isis, which has winds of 70 miles per hour, not moving much at all. The pressure 990 millibars. We do have tropical storm warnings in effect for parts of the Baja California as well as the Mexican coast here. So we're going to watch this one too. The Gulf of California certainly will be affected, and we'll continue to watch this as we head through time. And again, we'll have more details on Earl coming up in just a moment. Don't go away.
Hi everybody, I'm Dan Deardorff. Where would you go for a home equity loan? Let's ask.
Well, banks have the best rates.
But banks only lend money when you don't need it.
Advanta National Bank is different. They lend money to people when they need it.
Right. With my credit?
They made their first loans 45 years ago to teachers who had trouble borrowing. They helped out when others wouldn't.
This is a bank, right?
With customers who get the flexibility only a national bank can offer, right over the phone.
Got to move all your accounts there.
Nope, just call Advanta. One of their loan specialists will show you how to use the equity in your home to pay off all of your bills. Get one low monthly payment and save hundreds of dollars a month, plus a tax deduction.
You'll wait for some board to approve.
You'll get fast approval over the phone. And your money in about 10 days. You don't need to have money in the bank to get money from a bank.
And this edition of your Tropical Update brought to you by Rayovac. And here's Tropical Storm Earl, 27.8, 90.5 west. And that's about 160 miles south of New Orleans, Louisiana. Wind 60 miles an hour. Movement off to the northeast, 9 miles per hour. Pressure 995 millibars. Hurricane warnings continue in effect from Morgan City, Louisiana to Destin, Florida. Tropical storm warnings from Destin to Apalachicola. And we do see the tropical storm watches from Morgan City, Louisiana to Cameron, Louisiana. Satellite radar composite shows you the area of heavy rain remaining over the Gulf. Still have a lot of westerly wind here across the northern Gulf of Mexico, not allowing Earl to get very well organized, but still a lot of moisture here and this will have to be reckoned with. It does appear this whole system will be drifting its way to the northeast. So residents right along the Gulf Coast here in for rainy and windy weather today, and the potential for coastal flooding and inland flooding here, so could see 5 to 10 inches of rain if this moves on shore. Right now we're not looking for dramatic strengthening with the system, just too much shear, too much westerly flow here. Checking on the winds way up there at about 30,000 feet. They are still coming in from the west and west-southwest, and you can see that everything continues to be blown on the east side of the circulation center, which is over here. So that is the story on Earl. Complete update coming at the top and the bottom of the hour in Weather Center. Now, as we take a look at Hurricane Danielle, it's still with us. 35.3 north, 66.1 west, and here you can see the path of it, and it did behave just the way the forecast has said it would. Not like Earl, a bit more problematic, but Danielle has performed admirably here in combination with our forecast models. And here you can see the winds 85 miles an hour, formidable system out here. It's moving northeast now at 21. Here's Bermuda, and we have tropical storm warnings in effect. And checking on the weather observations out of Bermuda, which is right here, see that little dot? It's been blowing pretty good here. Winds sustained up out of the south and southwest here, anywhere from 20 to 30 miles an hour, and I've seen gusts here from 30 to 50 miles an hour overnight. So very windy conditions way down here in Bermuda. Here you can see the hurricane center, the eye, up to the north here, and it's speeding out to the northeast. So the worst of the weather well north of Bermuda, but we're in for a bit of a blow here and some heavy showers this morning. As we head our way farther south there, we're concerned a bit about this strong tropical wave coming into the eastern Caribbean here. You can see some turning with that. There is a trough to the north, and there are some strong winds here, but this looks like it's going underneath the trough, so we'll watch this for signs of possible development as it moves its way west the next couple of days. One thing is certain, heavy showers headed towards Puerto Rico, moving through the Virgin Islands this morning. See that on the radar, so looks like we could have some localized flooding problems here at the very least, as some wet times are ahead for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands today and tonight. Now in the west, in the Pacific, here's Tropical Storm Isis, 22.8 north, 109.1 west. Winds to 70 miles an hour. It's moving slowly northward here. Government of Mexico issuing these tropical storm warnings for the southern Baja Peninsula, California, and for the northwest coast of Mexico. And here's your satellite picture. And you can see it's a rather ominous looking picture at that. Look at all the cold cloud tops and the orange and the reds here. So very heavy rains and rough conditions along the coast here as this tropical system moves north. Closer to home, could see some strong storms today where you see the orange.
Some along the Gulf Coast batten down hatches and brace for whatever Tropical Storm Earl may bring. A live report from the storm's potential path next on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by Rayovac Rechargeable Alkaline.
Batteries.
Video games don't just blast through your batteries, they blast through your money. That's why you should arm yours with Rayovac Maximum Alkaline. They pack long-lasting alkaline power but cost less.
How about a little one-on-one?
See the hurricane symbol, the tropical storm symbol, and another tropical